He himself. Now if Christ be preached that he rose from the dead, how say some among you that there is no resurrection from the dead? But if there be no resurrection from the dead, then is Christ not risen? And if Christ be not risen, then is our preaching vain, and your faith also vain. 1 Corinthians 15:12-14. The Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu once compared human thought to a wagon wheel. The spokes converge at the hub, but at the place where they meet there is a hole, an empty space. The usefulness of the wheel depends upon the hole, for in it the axle is placed around which the wheel rotates. What would we think of a wheelwright who in hasty zeal forgot to leave room for the hole and filled it up with his own work? Our thoughts are not the ultimate, they point to something greater, quite different. They arrive at a point where they themselves cease and something wholly other begins. Even Christian thoughts about God, if they are true, have an empty hole in their midst. There they become a finger pointing to something they themselves are not.
At that place where all our words converge and ceases, where he himself, God, stands, not as a thought but in his essence, his complete reality is truly as a wheel has a hole for the axle.
So our words about God must have a free space through which he himself can come and meet us, otherwise they have no value. We forget this so easily. We should test every sermon, every Christian thought, every pious word. Does it lead to the place where it becomes a finger pointing beyond itself to the living God? Or have our words about God become more valuable to us than God himself? Is there in our thoughts a free place through which God can come? Or have we filled it in with our own handiwork? The Bible has a word for speech that fulfills this condition. Words not sufficient in themselves that point beyond themselves. Such words are called witnessing. There may be brilliant, inspired sermons that do not witness. And there may be simple, stammering words from homely lips, about which we immediately sense. In them there is witness. Perhaps this explains why so little healing power issues from all our Christian thinking, preaching, and praying. We do not lack zeal or orthodoxy, we lack witnesses.
What has this to do with resurrection? Everything. Resurrection is the word that wants to tell us most unambiguously. God is not a thought, God is not a word, God is not a feeling. God is the living one who waits to meet us.
Precisely where our thoughts about him end. That one who is dead should rise is impossible, incomprehensible, unprovable. And this impossible thing is proclaimed. You have ideas about God, but now you see he is greater, different, more real than you dared to think. This is what Jesus proclaimed throughout his life. He preached with authority and not as a theologian. In all his words, he led people to the place where their capacities were lost, where they stood before something incomprehensible, great, eternal. He carried them into uncertainty about everything old, so he might let them reckon with something absolutely new. They could not endure it, they killed him. But just there, what was always breaking forth in his words broke forth in great freedom. There was Easter. There he stood before those timorous disciples. He himself, in all reality, the living one who broke forth from death.
Strike this out and you strike from Jesus what he really was. Paul says plainly, then everything is vain. Then Christianity becomes like other religions, a system of thought, but then it can no longer be what it wants to be. Jesus leaves, that means our thoughts have come to an end. And through the crevice something new breaks into our lives as water through a dam. We become uncertain about everything, what it wants to be.
Jesus lives. That means our thoughts have come to an end. And through the crevice something new breaks into our lives as water through a dam. We become uncertain about everything we thought stood firm. What is nature? What is history? What is destiny? If Jesus rose from the dead. To be quiet before this God means to thoroughly doubt whether things will remain as they are, to wait for mighty transformation, to press past the halved and imperfect to the final truths. To be quiet before God means not to be quiet before money, before cares, before earthly powers, before theologies, nor before death itself, but to know the whole that is found everywhere, through which He Himself desires to come into our world.
A child learning to be quiet before God is of as much worth as a head of state who does likewise. It is not a matter of who you are or what you can do. It is a matter of God, He Himself, and what He can do. It is nothing else than whether we are willing to give Him place. He who helps beyond our pleading and understanding.
Why is this which is close and simple so hard? Why do we resist? Is it not possible that we should awake, be done with this resistance, and let God select us to become His witnesses?